I was 24 when my sister Hannah locked me out of the office of the bakery I built from nothing and said, "You don't work here anymore." 2 months later, I watched her do a TV interview where she smiled into the camera and called my recipes her grandmother's secret collection. Today, at 27, my company is worth over $1 billion. And Hannah's beloved brand is seconds away from being publicly exposed as a fraud. Live on the same network she once used to erase me. I'm Iris. And this is how my sister stole our dream, betrayed me in front of the world, and how I turned that betrayal into the greatest revenge of my life. My name is Iris. I'm 27. And I used to think family business meant love, trust, and something you pass down for generations. Now I know it can also mean contracts you never read, smiles that hide knives, and someone with your same blood stepping on your neck just to stand a little taller on TV. Our story starts in a cramped studio kitchen that smelled like burnt sugar and hope, not on a stage, not in a boardroom, just me, a borrowed oven, and my older sister Hannah pretending to help while secretly calculating how to take it all. I grew up in a small town where dreams were usually get a good job and don't make trouble, but baking was my escape. When our parents fought in the living room, I hid in the kitchen, measuring flour and sugar like it could keep the world from falling apart. Hannah was the pretty, confident one-class president, straight A student, the girl everyone believed when she said anything. I was the quiet one, the one who stayed late after school to clean the home ec room, just so I could test a new cupcake recipe before the janitor kicked me out. When I was 22, I dropped out of community college to start a home baking business. I still remember my mother's face. "Iris, this is a phase," she sighed, rubbing her temples. "Baking is a hobby, not a career." Hannah put a hand on my shoulder. "Give her a chance, Mom. She's actually really good. I've tasted everything." She smiled at me, that warm big sister smile I trusted. I thought she was on my side. The first year was brutal. I worked out of our tiny kitchen, burned myself constantly, and slept about 4 hours a night. I posted photos on Instagram, begged local cafes to try my pastries, and hand-delivered orders in my old beat-up car. I named my little brand Sugar Lantern because I wanted it to feel like a light in dark times. Cheesy, maybe, but it meant something to me. At first, I got a few pity orders from people who knew my family. Then I got a DM from a food blogger with 60,000 followers. "Your lemon lavender tart is insane," she wrote. "Can I feature you?" That one post changed everything. Orders tripled overnight. Then a local lifestyle magazine ran a piece. Then a micro-influencer did a TikTok. Suddenly, I wasn't just baking. I was running something that could be real. And that's when Hannah really stepped in. One night, after another insane day, I was collapsed on our couch, flour still in my hair. Hannah sat next to me with her laptop. "You know you can't keep doing this alone forever, right?" she said. I laughed weakly. "I kind of don't have a choice. I can't afford staff yet. I can barely afford decent butter." She turned the laptop toward me. It was a spreadsheet, colorful and organized, with numbers and projections. "I didn't really understand. I've been looking at your orders," she said. "If you had a storefront and a little investment, you could quadruple this in a year. But you need help: operations, marketing, finances. That's where I come in." Hannah had a business degree. She worked at a consulting firm in the city. I'd always envied her confidence around money, clients, and jargon that made my brain melt. "You're serious?" I asked. She nodded. "We could be partners, 50-50, sisters. Sugar Lantern could be huge." I teared up. "I don't know anything about contracts or equity. I'll handle that," she said quickly. "I'll get a lawyer friend to draft something. You just keep making your magic." Those words, "you just keep making your magic," felt like validation I'd been craving my whole life. So when she handed me a stack of papers a week later, I didn't really read them. I skimmed. I signed where she highlighted. I trusted my sister. That was my first mistake. Things moved fast after that. Hannah found a tiny storefront downtown with terrible lighting and ugly tile floors. "We'll fix it," she said. "Think of it. We painted the walls soft cream. I picked out pastel blue chairs. I hand-lettered our menu board. We opened the first Sugar Lantern bakery just before my 23rd birthday. It was magical. Customers lined up out the door on weekends. People took photos under our neon sign. Influencers tagged us. We sold out by noon most days. Hannah strutted around the shop in tailored blazers and heels, talking to suppliers and smoothing things over with the landlord when he got weird about the trash. I stayed in the kitchen, hands deep in dough, creating new flavors. Brown butter toffee croissants, matcha raspberry cream puffs, salted honey brioche. She'd peek in and say, "God, you're a genius, Lay." I mean, where does this stuff even come from? I glowed every time. My big sister believed in me. Our mother finally came in one day, ordered a cinnamon roll, and cried quietly in the corner. "You really did this," she whispered, hugging me. I was wrong. That moment alone felt worth every burn, every tear. But the cracks started small. 6 months in, I noticed Hannah talking about my vision for Sugar Lantern during a local TV segment. I was in the background, dusting powdered sugar on a batch of tarts as the reporter did the interview. "So how did you come up with these recipes?" The reporter asked her. "Oh, they're inspired by my grandmother's cooking," Hannah laughed. "I've always loved baking." I froze, powdered sugar sifting through my fingers onto the floor. "Your grandmother?" Our grandmother had Alzheimer's and barely remembered our names. She never baked. I did. I tested every recipe in that shop. I waited until the crew left, then cornered Hannah near the back door. "Why did you say that?" I asked, voice shaking. "About the recipes?" She shrugged, pulling off her microphone. "Relax, it's just a story. Customers love that nostalgic stuff. It helps us sell." "But it's not true," I said. "They're my recipes." "You should have said Iris." Her tone sharpened. "The bakery is more than your ego. We're building a brand. People don't care whose name is on the recipe card. They care about the experience. That doesn't mean you get to take credit," I whispered. She rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting. I'm doing interviews. I'm handling investors. I'm putting my reputation on the line. Don't you think that counts for something?" I snapped my mouth shut. I didn't want to fight. Not when we were finally succeeding. Maybe I was overreacting, so I swallowed it. That was my second mistake. Over the next year, Hannah took more and more of the spotlight. She started calling herself co-founder and CEO of Sugar Lantern on LinkedIn. In articles, she was quoted as the brains behind the brand. Sometimes I wasn't mentioned at all. Inside the bakery, she started making tiny changes without asking. "We're removing your chai roast scones," she said one morning, flipping through the menu. "Why? They sell out every day." I protested. "They're too niche," she replied. "And the ingredients are expensive. I've decided we'll do a simple chocolate chip muffin instead." "Very safe. It's supposed to be different here," I said. "That's why people come." She gave me a patronizing smile. "People come because of our marketing and location. Your creativity is cute, Lay, but I'm running a business." The word cute hit me like a slap. I started to feel like an employee, not a co-founder. But every time I thought about confronting her, I remembered the contract I hadn't really read and the fact that without her, we never would have opened the shop, or at least that's what I told myself. The day everything truly shattered was ordinary at first. It was a Tuesday. I'd just finished glazing a tray of blood orange donuts when Hannah called me into the office. She was sitting behind the desk, a stack of folders in front of her. She didn't smile when I walked in. "Close the door," she said. My stomach tightened. "What's going on?" She folded her hands, perfectly manicured nails, tapping lightly. "We need to talk about performance. Financially." My chest loosened a bit. "Okay, are we in trouble?" "We aren't," she said. "You are." I frowned. "What does that mean?" She slid a folder across the desk. "You've repeatedly failed to comply with operational standards. You ignore inventory recommendations. You refuse to simplify the menu. You're costing us money, Iris." I stared at the pages, printouts of emails, spreadsheets, notes I'd scribbled on orders. "That's not. I'm just trying to maintain quality." "There's more," she continued. "You've been late 3 times this month. I was up past baking for the charity event you booked." I shot back. "This is a professional environment," she said coolly. "We can't run on your artist schedule." My heart pounded in my ears. "Hannah, what are you doing?" She leaned back, expression suddenly tired, almost bored. "I'm doing what's best for Sugar Lantern. As outlined in our partnership agreement, I hold 60% of the company and have controlling authority over staffing and operations." The words hit me like ice water. 60? What? She tilted her head. "You signed it, remember?" My mind flashed back to the stack of papers she'd rushed me through, the highlighted lines, the way I'd trusted her completely. I thought we were 50-50, I whispered. "You thought wrong," she replied. "Anyway, this isn't a negotiation. As of today, you're being removed from daily operations. I felt the floor tilt. Removed? You can't. This is my bakery, my recipes. She stood, walked to the door, and opened it. Not legally. Legally, it's my company. You've been compensated fairly as an employee and minority shareholder. You'll still get a small monthly payout for your creative contributions, but you will not step foot in my kitchen again unless I invite you. Tears blurred my vision. Hannah, I'm your sister. She hesitated, something flickering in her eyes. Then her voice went cold. Exactly. I'm not firing you. I'm protecting you from yourself. Go home, Lay. You're emotionally unstable. You'll thank me one day. I didn't even realize I'd been crying until a customer glanced at me as I stumbled out. Apron still on, hands shaking. The last thing I saw as the door closed behind me was the neon sugar lantern sign I had chosen. The last thing I heard was my sister laughing with a supplier like nothing had happened. I fell apart after that. For weeks, I stayed in my apartment, lying on the couch, scrolling through social media while Sugar Lantern posted new product shots with captions like Hannah's signature raspberry swirl cheesecake. My name disappeared from the website. My story, my photos gone. Friends texted, "Are you okay? What happened? Why aren't you at the bakery?" I lied. Just taking a break. My mother called and said softly, "Hannah told us you needed time for your mental health." Is that true? The worst part was the doubt. The part of me whispering, maybe I am overdramatic. Maybe I did sign it. Maybe it's my fault for not reading. I watched my sister do another TV interview where she said, "I've always dreamed of owning a bakery, and with my business background and passion for recipes, it just made sense." My hands curled into fists. That invisible line between grief and anger snapped. She had taken everything. My work, my story, my identity. And suddenly, I didn't just want my share back. I wanted something else. I wanted to build something she couldn't erase. Something that would make her realize she'd underestimated me in the worst way possible. I wanted revenge not just out of spite, but because I finally understood she was never going to give me my place. I would have to take it. The turning point came one night when I was watching a random YouTube video about startup founders. A young woman was talking about building a food brand from her tiny kitchen into a nationwide company. She mentioned ghost kitchens, delivery apps, and something clicked. I didn't need a storefront. I didn't need Hannah's investors. I didn't need a neon sign. All I needed was my recipes, my story, and the internet. I grabbed a notebook and started writing. What if I created a brand that didn't look like a cozy local bakery, but like a lifestyle? Something modern, bold, unapologetically feminine without being cutesy. What if I told the truth not about Hannah, not yet, but about being underestimated, dismissed, and still choosing to create? By morning, I had a name, Bright Ember, because embers are what's left when the fire dies or what sparks a new one. I started small. I rented a tiny commercial kitchen space in a shared facility on the edge of town. It smelled like onions and desperation, but the ovens worked, and the rent was cheap. I designed a simple logo on my laptop, sharp, clean letters with a small flame icon. I stayed up all night building a basic website, telling my story this time. Not a grandmother's secret recipes, not a fake nostalgia, just, I'm Iris, I'm the baker, behind Bright Ember. I've been told my dreams were cute and unstable, so I built this brand for anyone tired of being underestimated. I created 3 core products to start. Ember Bars layered brownie caramel cookie bars, Phoenix Bites spicy dark chocolate truffles with chili, Rise cookies thick, pillowy cookies with espresso and vanilla bean. I didn't have a marketing team. I didn't have a PR agent. I had a ring light, a cheap camera, and a lot of rage. So I told the story, not naming Hannah, not naming Sugar Lantern. Just phrases like a dishonest partner, someone I once trusted, a business I was pushed out of. I filmed myself baking, talking, crying a little. I posted everything on TikTok and Instagram Reels. The first few videos got a couple hundred views. Then one hit 50,000. Then 500,000 people commented, "Wait, this happened to me too." Different business, same betrayal, ordering purely out of spite for that partner, whoever she is. Protect Iris at all costs. Orders started trickling in, then pouring. I stayed awake for 48 hours straight to fulfill them, hands numb, eyes burning, but this time, every box carried my name. My brand. Hannah noticed. One afternoon, as I was packing rice cookies, I got a text from an unknown number. Hannah, we need to talk. I stared at it, heart pounding. Then typed back, me. There's nothing to talk about. 5 minutes later, she called. I let it ring, then answered. What are you doing? She demanded, skipping any greeting. Working, I said calmly. I've seen your videos. You're making us look bad, Iris. I haven't said your name, I replied. If you see yourself in the story, that's not my fault, she scoffed. You're being dramatic as usual. This little side project of yours is cute, but you're playing with fire. Our investors might think you're talking about us. People are asking questions. Maybe they should, I said. Look, she continued, voice softening artificially. You're hurt. I understand. But this isn't the way. Come back. I can give you a position head baker, good salary, benefits. We can put your name on some of the recipes. We can fix this. For a moment, my chest ached with the old longing to go back, to be in the warm shop, to hear the hum of customers, but then I pictured her in that office, telling me I was emotionally unstable, that I'd thank her one day. No, I said quietly. I'm not coming back. She dropped the sweetness. Fine, then consider this your final warning. If your little story hurts my business, I will take legal action. Then you might want to reread those contracts of yours, I replied. Because you never had me sign anything about my own life. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not from fear, from adrenaline, from something that felt like freedom. Bright Ember exploded. 6 months later, a viral video pushed us past 1 million followers. A major influencer did an unboxing of our Phoenix bites and called them the perfect breakup. Chocolate. A national magazine wrote an article titled The Baker Who Turned Betrayal into a Brand. We went from renting a cramped kitchen to owning a sleek facility with automated packaging machines. I hired a team of people who had also been burned by corporate jobs or bad bosses. We built a culture on transparency. Everyone saw the numbers. Everyone had a voice. An investor reached out, not the type Hannah knew slick. Old school men in suits, but a venture firm run by women focused on consumer brands. We don't just like your products, the partner, Melissa, said during our first call. We like your story. Resilience is marketable. And you've tapped into something bigger than cupcakes. With their help, Bright Ember expanded into retail. Our Ember bars landed in regional grocery stores, then national chains. One night, I opened an email from our CFO with the subject line, Valuation Update. When I saw the number, I dropped my phone. Bright Ember was valued at $1.1 billion. I sat on the floor of my tiny, still unfurnished office and just cried. Not from sadness, from grief. Maybe for the girl who thought her only shot at success was that first little bakery. For a long time, revenge hadn't even crossed my mind in a concrete way. I was too busy building, surviving. But the universe has a twisted sense of timing, because the same week we announced a major retail partnership. Sugar Lantern announced they were franchising, and that was when our worlds collided in public. A national morning show invited me for an interview about Bright Ember's meteoric rise. I almost said no. I hate cameras. I hate bright lights on my face. But Melissa insisted. This is bigger than you now, she said. You're a symbol. And also, selfishly, it's great for business. So I said yes. The day of the interview, I wore a simple black dress and a small flame pendant necklace. The studio was cold, buzzing with producers and cameras. The host, Jenna, smiled at me as we sat down. Nervous? A little, I admitted. Don't be. Just tell your story. People already love you. As they counted down 5, 4, 3, I took a deep breath. The segment started with a montage of my videos, late nights, messy hair, batter-splattered aprons. Then Jenna turned to me. So, Iris, she began, you went from baking in your apartment to running a billion-dollar company in under 4 years. But this all began with a betrayal, right? I swallowed. The cameras zoomed in. Yes, I said slowly. I was part of another bakery. I created the recipes, the brand identity. I thought I had a partner I could trust. But due to a contract I didn't fully understand, I was removed from my own company. Jenna leaned forward. That sounds devastating. It was, I said, voice steady. But it also forced me to grow up, to learn business, to understand my own worth. And to learn that sometimes, the people closest to you can hurt you the most. What would you say, Jenna asked, if that partner is watching right now? I looked directly at the camera. I'd say, thank you, I said. Because losing that business gave me the fire I needed to build Bright Ember. And this time, no one can erase me. The segment ended with applause. I thought that was it. But what I didn't know was that Hannah was scheduled for a different interview on the same network. A week later, about Sugar Lantern's franchise expansion, producers love drama. They also love full circle moments. One of them called me after the show. Iris, she said, voice bubbling with excitement. We have a wild idea. Hear me out. A week later, I walked onto the same stage. But this time, there were 2 chairs. Hannah was already sitting in one of them. She looked polished as ever, silk blouse, perfect waves, flawless makeup. When her eyes met mine, a flicker of panic crossed her face before she smoothed it over with a smile. Iris, she said, standing as I approached. You look different, successful? I replied, just loud enough for her to hear. We sat. The audience murmured, sensing something. Jenna opened the segment. Today, we have a story about family, business, and what happens when dreams collide. You've already met Iris, founder of Bright Ember. With us now is Hannah, founder of Sugar Lantern Bakery, co-founder, I said quietly. Into my mic, Hannah's jaw tightened. Jenna continued, oblivious or pretending to be. We recently learned that your companies share more than just a market. You share a last name. The camera zoomed in on Hannah. Is it true, Jenna asked, that you and Irisi are sisters? Hannah smiled tightly. Yes, we are. I'm very proud of her success. I raised an eyebrow. Funny way of showing it. The audience chuckled nervously. Let's go back, Jenna said. Hannah, how did Sugar Lantern start? Hannah launched into her usual pitch. I had a vision for a modern bakery. I combined my business background with my love of baking. And who developed the original recipes? Jenna cut in. Her tone was light, but her eyes were sharp. Hannah hesitated. We both contributed, she said. It was a collaboration. That's interesting, Jenna said. Because we've seen video footage, social media posts, and early interviews from Sugar Lantern's first year that show Iris in the kitchen almost exclusively. We also obtained a copy of the original brand deck, which lists Iris as head chef and creative director. On the screen behind us, a slide appeared, an old photo of me, flour on my face, holding a tray of tarts. Under it, in bold, Iris head chef and creative director. I stared. I'd never seen that deck. Hannah must have used it for investors early on. Hannah laughed to high-pitched. Well, titles evolve. Jenna wasn't letting go. Hannah, there are also legal documents that show you hold 60% ownership of Sugar Lantern. Some critics might say that's disproportionate to the creative contribution Iris made. How do you respond to that? Hannah turned to me. Are you behind this? She hissed under her breath. I just told the truth, I said calmly. This time, someone listened. The rest of the segment felt like slow motion. Hannah tried to spin it. She said I was young and didn't understand business. That she saved the bakery. That I left because I was overwhelmed. I didn't have to attack her. I simply answered questions honestly. I talked about the contract. I hadn't fully understood. The day she removed me from the kitchen. The way she erased my name from the brand. The audience's silence said everything. At one point, Jenna asked me, if you could go back, would you still sign that contract? I thought about it. Yes, I said, because it led me here. To a business where every employee understands what they're signing. Where collaboration is real, not a trap. And Hannah, Jenna asked, do you have any regrets? Hannah opened her mouth, closed it, glanced at me, and then finally said, I regret that this conversation is happening on television. The audience actually booed. Producers later told me that segment became one of the most replayed clips on their website. Public opinion turned fast. Articles popped up, sister versus sister. When business and blood mix, did Sugar Lantern exploit its co-founder? Hashtags trended. People started calling for boycotts. Sugar Lantern's franchising deal stalled. One investor publicly pulled out, citing ethical concerns. I didn't lift a finger to make that happen. That was the sweetest part of the revenge. Months passed. Bright Ember kept growing. We nailed another retail partnership, then launched a line of baking mixes. I started doing fewer videos about betrayal and more about building about contracts, negotiation, boundaries. One evening, I was locking up our facility when I saw someone waiting by the door. Hannah. She looked smaller somehow. Not physically, but like someone had turned down the brightness of her presence. Can we talk? She asked. Her voice didn't have its usual power. I hesitated, then nodded, stepping aside. We sat on a bench outside under a flickering streetlight. I lost to franchises, she said flatly. 3 investors. One of our suppliers cut TIs. They didn't like the press. I'm sorry that happened, I said. And I meant it. I didn't enjoy watching her fail. I just couldn't pity her either. She looked at me. You really built all of this without me? Yes, I said. You were always capable, she murmured. I didn't think you'd actually do it without me. I thought you'd come back, I sighed. That's the problem, Hannah. You thought I needed you more than I needed myself. Silence stretched between us. Finally, she said. I came to make you an offer. I braced myself. I'll give you 30% of Sugar Lantern, she said quietly. Publicly. I'll acknowledge you as co-founder, head chef, whatever you want. Please, help me fix this. I stared at her, stunned. Everything I originally wanted was on the table. Recognition, ownership, validation. But I wasn't that girl anymore. I don't want it, I said softly. Her eyes widened. You're being ridiculous. This is what you always wanted. It's what I used to want, I corrected. Before I learned I could build something of my own. Something that doesn't have your fingerprints all over it. She swallowed hard. So that's it? You're just done with me? I looked at her, really looked at her. My big sister, the girl who used to brush my hair before school, who once defended me against bullies, who later turned around and became one herself. I'm not done with you as a person, I said slowly. But as a business partner? Yes, completely. Her shoulders shook. For the first time since this started, she looked like she might cry. I never meant to hurt you this much, she whispered. I know, I said. You meant to help yourself. The hurt was just collateral. That's what makes it worse. We sat there for a while, 2 sisters on opposite sides of an invisible chasm. When she left, I didn't feel victorious. I felt peaceful. Revenge, I realized, wasn't the TV segment or the headlines or her investors leaving. It was this. I had built a life where her power over me was gone. So that's my story. I'm Iris, 27 years old, founder of Bright Ember, former erased co-founder of Sugar Lantern. My sister stole our business. I launched a billion-dollar competitor, but the real plot twist wasn't just the money. It was realizing I didn't need her validation or her brand to exist. If you've ever been underestimated, betrayed, or pushed out of something you loved, this part is for you. You are not done. You are not too emotional or too naive or too late. You are an ember, and embers, given the right oxygen, become wildfires. If my story hit a nerve, or if you're sitting on your own bright ember moment, don't forget to hit that like button so more people hear it. Subscribe if you want more stories about women who took their pain and turned it into power. And in the comments, tell me, are you team stay and fight, or team walk away and build something new? Either way, don't let anyone write you out of your own story again.